Welcome back to What Is Your Perspective podcast.
Hey,
My
y'all.
name is Nate Harris. We have here Ashley.
Hey.
She. There's no way Ashley can get away. She just wants to be in every single show from now on.
He wants me to be here. He actually wanted a partner show. I said no. So I'll just be a guest.
But we also have big cousin Carla with the K. Every time Carla will introduce herself to anybody in this world, it's Carla with the K.
It sure is.
Say
Glad
what's
to
up
be
people,
here.
Carla.
I am so thankful to be here and talking with my cousins. I mean, this is like an incredible experience to actually be talking to my millennial cousins from my baby boomer perspective.
So yes, Carla, this is the first time on the show. And this is the first time even learning about the show. Did you know I had this podcast?
No, actually, I didn't know you had it.
Yeah, so it's been probably about a year now. I mean, I've been going.
You've been doing this for a year?
Yeah, not
Oh, wow.
the cameras and all this, but I've been recording podcasts for a while now.
Okay.
And it's been
He's just been growing.
yeah, it's been an evolution process. At first, it was just me, and then it was like me just running my mouth, motivating people, just But then it got to a point where no one just wanted to hear Nate talk. So I knew it was like just get off.
Yeah,
I
I'm
need
glad
people to
he
come above
stopped
it.
that.
Oh.
But Carla is here to talk about millennials and baby boomers. This is actually an exciting talk that I really wanted to do. That's why when you brought it up, I'm like, let's do it. Because I know that there's a lot of differences and
Oh, yes.
there's a lot of misunderstandings between the two generations.
But there's a lot of synergy going on, too.
I agree. But I'm gonna let you take charge. I'm gonna let you ask
Well,
the questions and you start the dialogue.
Well, okay, you're speaking of the difference in the two. We're talking about generations.
Mm-hmm.
The baby boomer generation, which is basically 1945. Actually, there are two baby boomer segments. It was like from 45 to 54, and then from 54 to 65, I believe it was. Something like that. Baby boomer 1, baby boomer 2. I'm a baby boomer 2. And you guys are millennials from 18 to 35, right? You're in that age range, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I realized is that while we're so apart, I feel like we have more in common with each other than any other generations. Because the boomers are right on, looking through the, right on the edge of retirement, looking at retirement. So we are kind of voraciously looking for opportunities to increase revenue, increase income, money.
Right.
And so we're on the lookout for those opportunities online, starting businesses, doing different things, having a second career, retiring from the first career and starting a whole nother second career. But millennials, they're just entering into the workforce with, graduating college and getting all of this. They grew up in the internet age pretty much. And so they're very aware of online income, creating income online through Instagram, Facebook, all the social media programs, being affiliate marketers and all that kind of stuff. So you guys are embracing the internet for business and entrepreneurship. And the same thing with baby boomers. We know it's an advanced technology, and we know that it's creating opportunities that we never had before, those of us who are in tune to it, and we are jumping into it more enthusiastically, and also because some of us have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
So we tend to meet at these different opportunities. And another thing is, I know a lot of boomers who have never been married, and a lot of them don't have children. Well, if you're still out here like I am, who are you going to look at? I hate to say it, but the millennials. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. While I'm old enough to be your mother or your father, I have to tell you, I feel like I have more in common with millennials than these other baby boomer men. I'm telling you, it's the truth. Ladies, if you're listening to this, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, but let me ask you this though, because you're right. You're right about a lot of those things, but also I know that you are different. You are an entrepreneur type. You have an entrepreneurial spirit. Not everyone has an entrepreneurial spirit, and I know as millennials, we are taking on the online income, but it's not complete. not everyone is, and not everyone, because we grew up with the internet age, but we grew up as the birth of the internet age. Generation X, our kids now who are 15, 16, 17-year-olds, I know there's people making millions and millions and millions of dollars on YouTube because they've been using YouTube since they were 5 years old. So they're really into it.
Right.
Us, a lot of people are into it, a lot of people are making money, a lot of people are using it. I use it, but to me it was the same thing. Like you were saying, we were trying to catch up because we're like, oh my God, there's a lot, unless you were already in Silicon Valley and understanding that technology was about to take over our world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But we're still...
Hold on, this is my question though real quick. I'm sorry. But my question is, do you think that when it comes to the baby boomers, it's just entrepreneurs that have this mindset, let me go online, or do you think everyone is embodying that? Because I don't think everyone is embodying that.
No.
Okay.
And even entrepreneurs aren't all accepting it and embracing it.
Yeah.
But there are some that are. And I mean, just like the millennials, not all millennials are embracing it either. But, you know, the ones who tended to do Uber and Lyft, the boomers and the millennials, or anybody really who tend to do that, when you start having the experience of exchanging revenue online, creating passive income, and you really understand the process and know it's legitimate and it's really legal and it works, that's when you tend to be more open to the opportunities that the online world creates. But in addition to that, like I said, the way we think, like you were I heard a podcast you were doing on Kanye about how he thinks. And you were talking about being a free thinker. And the minute that you say, oh, I'm mad at Kanye, or I don't believe what Kanye says, it's because you're not a free thinker. Isn't that what you suggested?
Yes, I was suggesting that. Not necessarily that if you don't agree with Kanye, you're not a free thinker. But I'm saying what Kanye was trying to say is at the time in his speech that I was referring to, every time he puts that MAGA hat on, he was saying, when I put this hat on, you guys immediately hate me and start bullying me. And what he was portraying there is that he was proving to the world that that alone wasn't free thinking, because I put this hat on and you guys all say, I hate Kanye because he's wearing that hat.
Okay, well, that's what you call groupthink, you know, and sometimes that does happen, and it happens a lot with the Trump people. The thing is that you're right about we are not all free thinkers, and we have to grow to realize, first of all, that we are not free thinkers, and then take steps to become free thinkers. And a lot of boomers, you know, came up in such an indoctrinated society, educationally, politically, church-wise. There were all these institutions that we had to adhere to in order to please our parents, our, you know, society, the structures and powers that be, you know, that were in place. And so we were so programmed that a lot of us don't even realize that we were. And until you have a real wake-up call, it could be your health, it could be a legal situation, it could be a marriage breakup, or you know, it could be any number of things. You don't really start looking at yourself and your thinking and your life and how you got to be that way.
No, you nailed it on the head. It starts with you don't even think it's a possibility because you already think that you're thinking free. I have my own thoughts.
Yes.
I'm already free. But you're not realizing that the thoughts that are put into your head is because of all the media and everything
and the programming
that's been put into your life. Everything that we know has been told to us or taught to us. Like, these aren't just imaginations. You know, we got it from a commercial. We got it from our parents. We got it from this person or this person. So it does start with, you have to understand that
you have to wake up. Like, you know, that's why I love Childish Gambino with that song Redbone. You know, stay woke. You know, just the idea of being woke is extraordinary. And you know, a lot of people, I think it kind of went over some people's heads, but it was really a really strong statement and a position.
I think a lot of that growth has to do with your experience and what you learn too. Obviously we've learned to be or to think a certain way, but you have to go through experience to learn otherwise, you know, like like a simple example could be like how your parents raised you a certain way. When you leave the house and you start experiencing it, you're like, I don't agree with that. I'm gonna raise my kids this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or make decisions to raise your kids totally opposite of the way
that they raise. Yeah,
because some people believed in spanking and whipping and beating their kids, and the kid grows up and says, "I'm never going to hit my child."
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That was a good perspective that you brought up because that again, just like you're saying, you have to understand that you aren't free thinking, and that's a form of transforming to free thinking. When you go from I was whipped my whole life, I don't like this, I'm woken up,
Amen.
I'm not gonna whip my children because I know the effect it had on me. So it may have to come to a wake up call sometimes.
Oh, most definitely.
It may come to that, but I think you really, it's powerful that you said it because you have to acknowledge.
Well, and sometimes it comes, like for me, when I learn, however, that Christopher Columbus did not discover America. I mean, and it just came down to common sense. You know, after a while, you think about there were some other people here. He did not discover anything.
Yeah.
You know, and when I think a lot of people really realized that one day, that no, he didn't discover America, you realize that we were lied to in our education. So now, was it just that one lie? You think? Maybe? Probably not. So then you start looking at everything else. Everything else. And then you realize.
And so, and that's really, because again, I don't like attaching myself to Kanye, because Kanye does be sounding crazy. But my thing with Kanye is, just listen to him. I'm not saying that he's right by anything, but I'm from a free thinking standpoint, I question everything, and I'm open to everything, because anything could be a lie. Again, you're right. Christopher Columbus, my whole life, Columbus Day, I'm going to school, writing pictures of Christopher Columbus. What else was a lie?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
in fact, it's the holiday that's coming up this week.
Next
week.
So
Columbus Day.
So that's what I mean by, you know, when Kanye's coming out and saying all these things. He was talking about, you know, Kanye said slavery was a choice, you know, but he said it wrong. He meant we're mentally slaves. You know, that's what he was trying to get at.
Yes.
And so he just communicates.
And he may have been talking about a whole different period of time too. If he's talking about mentally enslaved.
From my understanding, he was speaking of slavery, but he was somewhat saying we should have been stronger than that. And then everyone was like, Harriet Tubman was trying to, but people feared for their lives, so they weren't able to just, you know, choose to get out of it, type of thing.
You're right, and I agree with you. And I'm not on Kanye's side about slavery was a choice, but what Kanye was trying to portray is that how strong we are,
right,
as our color and our people. You mean to tell us if we weren't enslaved mentally?
But they didn't give us books.
They didn't allow them to read.
We were enslaved mentally.
No, that's what he's trying to say. And we
it's
still
a
are,
fact.
just in a different
form. But it's a fact.
No, yeah, it was. It's a fact. And that's what he was saying.
He's saying that he's saying now when he speaks about being mentally enslaved, he's speaking of now.
Which is true too.
Right, which is true.
Just like, for example, our jails are slavery. It says in our Constitution.
It's modern day slavery.
But we just look at it as jails because that's just normal to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and because they don't attach the word slave to it.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I always tell people, like, I live with my grandmother. We're not far out from segregation. So let's not act like we're just some holy society and we've got to equality. We're not completely there yet.
Oh, no.
Nowhere near.
Well, I mean, I really like what Kanye says about being one. He's trying to show how we're all connected. And that's a spiritual concept.
Exactly.
And maybe he's not really ready to embrace the spiritual knowledge that he's been gaining.
Well, I think it's all about knowledge,
you know, because like Steve Harvey is all into, you know, Christianity and his spiritual walk, and he's sharing it. Whereas some people may not feel confident enough to share it. He's not of Steve Harvey's age. So Steve is like 60, so he may have the confidence now. Yeah.
Steve look good.
Yeah, well, me too. But anyway, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, don't play this back. But really, Kanye is just coming of age in terms of his maturity.
Yeah, I agree.
And I have a philosophy about aging that, you know,
let's touch on that, because I've talked about this.
Yeah, that you don't really grow up until you're 40 years old. So millennials are really not grown yet, because you're still developing. You know, you're still growing and learning, experiencing new things. And when you get to 40, God willing, you have another 40 years to live, right? Till 80 years old. So that first 40 are your roots, the lessons and experience and adventures and knowledge and wisdom that you gain. And the next 40 would be the tree above the ground that grows up to God or your creator, whatever you believe in, when you apply all the wisdom and knowledge that you got in those solid, strong, powerful roots to support the tree that is growing up to
because as you
the
grow
sky.
and live through life and your experiences teaches you everything.
Absolutely.
You learn things every single day. Like from last week till this week, I've learned so much. And so I always think to myself, I've learned so much. It's amazing how much more I have to learn.
Yes, because you realize, you know, that you don't know what you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
Right, and I can't believe I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought I did.
What the one thing that came out of No Child Left Behind, the reauthorized legislation that happened during the late 90s, was to advise people to be a lifelong learner. And that's what I really embraced. That was the best thing that came out of that, to me, that legislation.
Wait, excuse me. You said, I'm confused. You said No Child
Left Behind.
Okay, that the schools passed, right? Or, I mean, but you're talking about the schools.
It was reauthorized in the late 90s under Bush to implement change in the school system.
Okay, and that means
that's when all
can't get held back, right?
Well, not that they couldn't. No, it didn't have anything to do with kids not being held back. No, the name of it was just called No Child Left Behind. So that
it was about
learning
improving the education system.
Yeah, improving the education system so that everyone would be successful. And that's when you started seeing charter schools and corporations started becoming involved with the education system and funding these charter schools, Khan Academy. You started seeing learning online, you know.
The reason why I asked, I'm working in schools now, mentoring kids in Linwood. And obviously I know that that law, or what would you call it? Law?
NCLB, No Child Left Behind. What do you mean?
Like, would you call it a law? Would you call it a bill?
Yeah, legislation.
Legislation, okay. I thought that it was basically everything that you said, but also we're not holding our kids back. We're not leaving anyone behind, so we're going to make sure that they learn the material so they don't hold them back when we get them to the next grade.
Okay, well, that is the idea.
Hold on, though. I'm working in the schools, though, and I feel like that's kind of counter-proactive. Everything you said I agree with, but I think if that is the case, and that's what I felt is the case, because I have had a teacher literally say, I have to stay on standard, they don't get this, but I have to go on to the next lesson because I have to stay on the standard because of the No Child Left Behind law. I've had a teacher say that to my face, knowing as I'm watching these kids not understand the material, but she had to go to the next lesson. And so that bothered me because I'm dealing with kids who are in 8th grade, they're learning exponents and how to distribute exponents, but they don't even know how to multiply 6 times 3. Because
they don't have the basics.
5th grade, they didn't get it then, and they just, No Child Left Behind, they push them through. Well, and I may be wrong about what it means and what it actually is. And I know it's probably deeper, but that's
well, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I should read on it, but like I even have my after school program. One of the students, she's considered 5th grade. She's considered special ed, but they've passed her all these grades, but she wasn't supposed to pass because she didn't know the material. Now that she's in 5th grade and she doesn't amount up to, the required.
She's low in the assessment.
She's low in her assessment, so she's considered special ed. Because
SPED, okay.
And that's it. But they should have held her back so she not even. Well, but they should have fixed.
But was she special ed before? Like in 1st grade, was she special ed? Or 2nd grade?
No.
And so
my mom previously worked with her, and my mom used to take her to the library and stuff.
Now your mom being a daycare provider and
after school program,
Okay.
And so my mom saw it a long time ago, and I think
you gotta promote your services. That's what she was trying to get you to do. Go ahead.
I'm trying to get to something. So, what I was saying was, my mom realized it a while ago, and she would bring it to the mother's attention, and I think that has a lot to do with it also. But now, you know, she's in 5th grade and she's considered special ed. But, you know, they should have never continued her on, really. You know, I don't think, if she didn't know the material, I don't know.
Now, were they able to identify, you know, what her special ed issue is?
I'm not sure.
No, they labeling these kids.
Yeah.
And I even heard, like, Taraji P. Henson, she used to be a substitute teacher.
Yes, I saw that video.
And she was saying that she realized none of the substitutes wanted to work with special ed, and so when she went in there, she thought she was going to see physically handicapped people, but it was the room of black boys who just behavioral issues that were, and she said those kids believed they were special ed, and so she had to use her own tactics, and she said most of the time they were hungry, and she would bring them food and say, well, we'll eat this once we get these problems done. And they're like, well, we don't know how to do it, we're special ed.
Yeah,
so that's what they're told.
Self-identifying,
and that's one thing Kanye. And that's when Kanye even started coming out with all this. I keep going to Kanye because I'm just like, I'm getting to the point that I'm not a free thinker and I'm open about it, like you brought up earlier. So that's why I'm so on Kanye. But he said this when he started this about a year ago, and he brought up how when you're in school and you stand on the table and you're jumping up and down, or you're drawing pictures and you're not paying attention, they're gonna tell you no. They're gonna stop that. And as a kid, you're learning, okay, I can't do that. So they're limiting you. You know what I'm saying? So then
there's proper behavior.
There is proper behavior, and I'm not saying kids need to let kids jump off the walls, but they tell us exactly how to behave. What's right? What's wrong? You're not supposed to be loud in here. You're not supposed to be creative. You're not supposed to this and that. And then
so that's why the school systems are very open to learning alternative methods of teaching, of delivering instruction. Small groups, one-on-one, the tutoring. They're implementing all these different strategies. And a lot of them are really being successful because now they're allowing students to actually work on their cell phones in the room. Use the cell phones. I was like, why don't you let these kids use their cell phone to at least find the definition of a word? You know, Siri, what does, cacophony mean? Gotta say the word first. You know, use these and make them tools. Allow the kids to use the phones as tools.
Yeah.
So now in some schools they're allowing it, but still, you know, you're always going to have kids that are off task and doing whatever they want to do. They can't.
Well, someone brought to I heard somewhere, someone was like, "That's what kids do." You know, you want you're labeling them as having ADHD. Because they can't sit still, but kids, they're hyperactive. You know?
And see, the thing is that we constantly learn more and more and more about what works and what really doesn't work. And so, but it takes time to implement what we know is working. Right. And then everybody is not always aware of what is working. So you have people resisting change, resisting modification of this and that. You have to reprint everything in different languages, and you know, and now we're coming up on an election, which is very important. And there are a lot of things that about the election that we probably need to discuss. You probably should actually talk about, Nate.
We definitely will.
Yeah.
We definitely will.
For November 2018, it's a very important election. A lot of people supporting the MAGDA, Make America Great Again. And now my theory, you said some people think it's racist. The idea is racist?
They think the term "Make America Great Again," and we'll end on this one. "Make America Great Again" is "Make America white again, make America slavery again." That's
okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
I thank you. I hope you'll have me back again.
I would love to have you back. I could go on for an hour and 3 hours with you because I know you talk, but I'm definitely going to have you back.
Because I want to talk about dating millennials.
No.
Baby boomers.
Oh, that would be juicy.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting for sure.
Okay, we'll have you back. Any last words for millennials though?
No, just keep getting to know some baby boomers, okay?
Thank you guys for watching. This is What Is Your Perspective, and I love you more than you know.